Topic of the day is cash or creative finance for your first deal. Zach, are you doing cash or creative finance or
I
both?
I do both. One flex I have on Richard is I think I make more on a creative finance deal than him, but his flex is he does a lot more creative finance deals than me. So I think that's kind of I think it's kind of the push and pull between the creative for us. And then for my wholesaling is completely different than your wholesaling. But I think that's kind of the point of today, right?
How many
Why it
creative
works.
finance deals? How many creative finance deals do you do a month, Zach?
Oh, it's so my creative deals I own. I don't wholesale them usually, but it's probably one a week. So maybe you got five in a month really. But like
Okay.
those, you own them. You know what I mean? Like you own them.
Okay.
So like
Yeah.
you ain't sending them to a guy. But like I don't do a creative deal just to make 7 grand. Like it's
Mm,
need to be about 50, 60 grand over the lifetime of the deal for me to do it. But it's mostly subject to and lease options.
really? I got to ask you about the lease options later in the podcast. I'm doing like 90% creative, man. I do like 30 creative deals per month. We closed 11 creative deals last week, not a single cash deal. I feel bad about it, but I also don't feel bad about it. And yeah, I'm doing the same thing. So I have six not primary residences. I have six rental properties in closing right now, creative finance. And yeah, I honestly, every single creative finance deal I get based off of my own acquisition efforts, I'm keeping that. Every single creative finance deal that my students get, I'm keeping like 10% of them, wholesaling the rest. But dude, I have never had more properties in closing adding to my portfolio than I have right now. And it's literally just seller finance and mortgage takeover deals. He says sub two, I say mortgage takeover. I don't do the whole sub two thing. I mean, I could, but we don't.
I do the legal jargon. I'm taking over a mortgage subject to the existing mortgage. I always do whatever the legal words are because people get all, actually, it's this and this and this. The cool part about the creative finance thing that I will tell you that wholesalers should look at is I'm 25. By the time I'm 50, I will probably make more money on cash flow and appreciation for all the properties I own than income by far.
Oh
And that's
yeah.
like no working, right? But that's kind of retirement for me too. But like still at the end of the day, I don't want to retire, but I'll be making more money off the capital appreciation than anything else. So
We
I
should,
think that's kind of the point. You should always do both.
we should probably talk about what creative finance is. I think we just sort of jumped into it. Do you do more creative or cash deals? He does more cash deals. I do more creative deals. What is creative finance? Guys, if you have a house for 100K and it's not selling, how do you make it sell? What do you do? You
Financing.
lowball? Maybe you lowball them. That will work. It will sell if you lowball them. What if you offered them their asking price? How would you make that work? Well, you could do it on a set of payments. So I'll give you a real life example. I like to give addresses while I'm talking because it gives them a. I don't know why Zach doesn't do this. I guess he actually does do this. But I'm in closing right now. On Monday we close. I'm buying this house in Omaha, Nebraska,
Hmm.
3814 South 24th Street. It's listed for 385. My dumbass is paying 450. Why is that a thing? Well, honestly, I think the takeaway there is I'm paying a wholesaler $10,000 because you may be listening to this like, okay, maybe later I want to start purchasing properties, but right now you're looking for a check. How do you get the check?
Hmm.
Well, somebody found me this deal listed for 385, offered $450,000, and I'm paying them $10,000, which is just doesn't make sense. Like, how is it that you're overpaying for a property and still getting an assignment fee from that? Well, my understanding of it, and not even understanding, a property isn't worth its price; it's worth its financing. So, what would you rather pay for? Would you rather pay for a house at $500,000 and you owe 500 cash up front, or would you rather pay for a house $600,000 and it's $600,000, $0 down, and $1,000 a month? 100% 600,000. So you'd rather overpay for the property if it contains the right financing terms. Well, this deal is 450, $55,000 down, 50 down, 0% interest. I
Oh
just
yeah.
don't have interest rate on it. There's no interest. I mean, we do have the interest. It's offered in a little bit over the asking price, but it's a fraction of what you'd normally have. And then my payments on there, normally my payments on a $385,000 house might be, I don't know, maybe they're pretty consistent. Normally my payments might be $2,400, $2,500 principal and interest if I got a mortgage.
Hmm.
Here they're 2,000. And the special thing about that is every single dollar in the payments that I make goes towards my debt. So in just 7 years' time, when I have a balloon payment on this property, I'll have more than 50% equity. I'll be able to refinance it. I'll be able to sell it. So I pay down half of my purchase price in a 7 year period of time, which is ridiculous. So I pay people to overpay for properties. Creative finance is just getting houses on a set of payments. Either you take over a set of payments or you create a set of payments. It's like Build-A-Bear, but for mortgages. That's creative finance.
I mean, what's the average home price in Oregon? What, 500? 600?
I want to say about 500. Yeah.
Okay. What would the average price in Oregon be if there was no financing available? You had to buy a house for cash. It'd probably be cut in half, right? If you,
Oh
the
yeah.
only way you buy a house is by buying it cash, right? So
Oh
what does
yeah.
that mean? No one's buying houses for cash. Maybe 5, 10% of people are, but like it's not really a thing. So the vast majority of Americans buy their cars, buy their groceries, I mean, kind of, but most of their houses with financing. And because you can do that, you are willing to pay more than what the inherent value is. You can even say that about college tuition, stuff like that. Like, should it really cost 40 grand a year to go to a private school? No. But because people give loans out to it, you can inflate it, right? Because I'm not paying for it. The reason why people can sell real estate above the value of what it intrinsically is because you can get it financed. And that's kind of the point of creative financing too. You can kind of be the bank or have the seller be the bank or do it the other way around where you can just create arbitrage that the bank makes. So the bank makes a stupid amount of money. You got to understand this. Like banks are one of the largest corporations in the entire world. They take your money at 0% basically. And I'd call it 1% because to hold your money and all that stupid stuff. So they basically take your money for 1%, rough numbers, and then they will give a mortgage out to a guy for 4%. They make 3% arbitrage. And that's why it's the most valuable, like one of the most valuable businesses in the entire world. It's been done since the dawn of time, basically, right? So you got to understand that is how the biggest corporations in the entire world that runs everything makes it. They take your money for 1% and they sell it out for 5%. What you are inherently doing is you are just doing what the bank does. You are taking somebody's house, their asset, and you're giving them, like Richard did, 0%. And you are basically giving that asset. See, cash is an asset, but you're giving to somebody to live in, and you can make arbitrage in between what the payment is. You pay the guy $1,000 a month. Guy's living there for $2,000. You're making $1,000 profit, no money at all, and it's kind of an infinite money glitch because there's 300 million homes in America. You just got to find a guy who's willing to do it, and I found there's a lot of people.
Dude, that deal that I told you where I'm overpaying for that property. I may be overpaying for the property by a stupid amount, like $65,000.
Mhm.
But get this, my payment on that house, principal, interest, everything included, $2,600. Currently rented out. Last year's rent, old rent, can be increased, fully renovated too. You can go check the photos on Zillow, $4,700. $4,700. We got to calculate the cash on cash return because that's pretty ridiculous. If I'm renting out a property for 4,700, note that I'm not collecting 4,700. Note that I'm collecting 20% less because year end, there's going to be all kinds of expenses. So anytime you have a rental figure, $4,700, you got to multiply it by 0.8, especially on your wholesale deals, even cash wholesale deals. You're actually bringing in $3,760 and I've got a payment of $2,700. So I'm cash flowing over $1,000 a month. I'm receiving a check for like $2,000 per month, but there's expenses at the end of the year. So realistically, maybe I'm cash flowing $1,000 a month. And that's on a $385,000 property. Year end, I'm cash flowing $12,720. My down payment to enter this deal, everything included, is $60,000, meaning that my cash on cash return is 21.2%. And that's with a $10,000 assignment fee. $10,000 assignment fee, maybe with closing costs a little bit less, but I'm cash flowing at like 19% cash on cash return with closing costs on there. That's disgusting. Stock market's going to give me 8 to 12%. And on top of my insane cash flow, I'm just paying this down ridiculously quickly. On top of that, the government sees that I'm purchasing properties and they're like, oh, you don't have to pay as many taxes this year. We can reduce your tax bill for you. So it's just like, oh my God, 50% equity in 7 years. Are you kidding me? Hundreds of thousands of dollars in equity. I don't even have to renovate the property. Cash flowing damn near 20% on my investment. Beautiful. It's a beautiful deal. What do you think is easier, Zach? You think it's easier to get your first cash deal First creative
Oh,
finance.
so we have different terms. I call wholesaling. So you do cash creative. That's how your brain works and how you teach people, which it's the same thing. It's the same language, right? It's like talking to a British person. It's the same thing. They just have different words for it. But basically, I think wholesaling is the best one. So I'm not going to say anything bad about credit. I love credit finance is the greatest investment vehicle ever. Is the greatest thing I've ever had with making money. For example, I'm able to take a property owner financing, give the guy 5 grand down, bring a rent to own guy. He gives me 10 grand down, and then he pays 1,500 a month. I pay the guy 1,000 a month, and he takes care of everything. The rent to own guy, I am making $500 a month, and I have put zero money out of pocket. What's the returns on that? Infinity, right? You spent no money, you make nothing, right? And as an investment guy that makes a lot of money. That's all I could say. If something bad happens, I can cover it all day, and I can make unlimited money. Basically, it's amazing. The problem is, let's say 2008 happens again. Real estate goes down 60% of the value right now. So everything goes down 40%, rent's cut down 40%. The vast majority of people don't know what to do as a beginner. Richard, you could probably survive it because you're smart and you know how to deal with it. You know how to get the right tenants in. But most people, I'm talking about 18-year-old, 19-year-old kids, those 12-year-olds that do deals in your Discord, they probably can't stomach that, right? So I'm talking about like overall, I think creative is more powerful, but I'm talking about as a beginner, wholesaling because the risk is zero and you can make quick cash. I'm talking about like you use that wholesaling money and start buying your own subject to deals. That's the best mix.
That's a
So
good point.
wholesaling number one.
That's a good plan. Guys, you can wholesale creative finance.
You
Zach's,
can?
yeah, Zach's calling it wholesaling, but you can wholesale creative finance. Wholesaling is the umbrella term. Remember, Costco is a wholesaler.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, the company Costco is a wholesaler, right? We're wholesalers when we get a cash deal under contract, pass it off to somebody else. You're also a wholesaler when you pass off a contract, even on creative finance terms, to somebody else. You can wholesale cash deals. You can wholesale creative finance deals, but wholesaling generally refers to cash deals. And then Pace Morby comes along and sort of normalizes wholesaling creative finance deals. My my bulletproof argument for creative finance being the best way to get your first deal is a kid named Anson. And honestly, before I tell you about Anson, I just need to hold up a photo of Anson because this is probably the most important part of the story, just the photo.
Mhm.
Let's hold up a photo. Take a peek. Do you see this kid?
Oh wow. Yes, I see him.
4 seller finance deals under contract, 2 in closing in his first 20 days. I'm just gonna leave that there. Just gonna leave that there. If you're listening to the audio version of this, I just held up a picture of a toddler. He's not actually a toddler. He's 12 years old, but he looks very, very young. And he has four seller finance deals under contract. You know what his strategy is?
What's the
He finds
strategy?
100K houses in areas like Roanoke, Virginia, like a populated area, but like deep south.
Mhm.
100K houses. He calls them up. He offers them their asking price, but then he throws on like a 5 to 9% interest rate, which is ridiculous, right? 9% interest. What the heck is that? Well, this kid understands interest, which is crazy, but he throws a 9% interest rate on $100,000. And with a down payment, what is your payment on that? $700, maybe?
Yeah.
And cash flowing. What does a $100,000 house rent out for? Well, Section 8, generally speaking, $1,400. Long-term rent, usually around $1,100. And if you're paying $700, you're still cash flowing on that bad boy. So this is a 12-year-old kid who calls houses up that haven't sold 100 days on market, and he offers them a little bit more than their asking price, maybe 5, 10K. That's
Mhm.
sort of what I teach and hold my hand wholesale. This 12-year-old. And then he gives them anywhere from a 5 to 9% interest rate. He has one closing right now in Baltimore, Maryland at a 7% interest rate. But honestly, the house, by the way, in Baltimore, Maryland, what the heck is up with their rents? It is crazy. $100,000 house rent up for $2,200. That's disgusting,
Oh yeah.
literally disgusting. But he's got a payment on this thing at 7% interest of like, I don't know, 780 all in with taxes and insurance, and it rents for $2,200. Guys, we got him a $5,000 assignment fee. offered over their asking price, over market interest rates. He has 4 deals his first 20 days. I don't even want to say first month. 20 days into it, this 12-year-old hit the ground running. So my argument, not only that, of course, you have 15-year-old Daniel McClain on month one who closed 5234 Cole Road, Memphis, Tennessee, also offering them over their asking price, 0% interest this time. But my sentiment on it is I have never seen somebody so young and a plethora of people who are so young doing wholesale deals in such a quick period of time. And that's why we teach creative finance as the way to get your first deal. I'll tell you that cash is a good way to get your first deal. I see people hit the lottery on their cash deals. I see kids who come in 2-3 months in, they've made 500 offers. Somebody says yes, one of those offers in cash, they make a 50K check. I've seen that happen many times, but more consistently, little kids getting creative finance deals, offering people who can't sell their house, their asking price are a little bit more. And the best part about that is when you go into one of those calls, you can literally start the conversation off as, I understand you're looking for 100,000. How about 150? And you're not literally offering them 150. You give them $100,000, 9% interest for 7 years. It totals 150. Their interest payments over a period of 7 years, it gives them a lot more. These guys lose their mind for offers like that. That's why that literal child, damn near toddler, you need to be watching the YouTube version of this so you can see what he looks like. He's going to be making probably 20,000 this month. Each deal is about a 5K check. Not much, but 20,000 as a 12-year-old this month. It's ridiculous.
Here we go. Well, one thing I want to mention is a lot of people think creative finance is a new thing. There's a lot of Rick's books, not your Rick, my dad, Rick.
I invented creative finance in 2020.
He's over 20 years old, wholesaling creative finance right here. This is Robert Sheeman. This is a wholesaling lease options book. And then this is a book. I don't think you know this. I show this a lot. I made a 80 grand on a flip in Port St. Lucie, Florida, 5 years ago. And this book was in the attic. How Real Estate Fortunes Was Made by George Bockel. Was never shown everywhere. This is in print. Look how old this book, from 1972. This book, if you read the back, this is like my wholesaling Bible. It teaches you in 1973 how to find code violations, government lists, how to wholesale property subject to the mortgage, how to do assignments on creative financing, how to do regular wholesaling real estate, how to find motivated sellers off market and on market, and how to profit on every single type of deal. And he calls it leverage sales power. That's his quote. But basically how to leverage an entire team and do a whole entire creative thing, and how to day trade real estate. It's one of my favorite books ever. From 1972, not in production. I keep this thing on view every single time. And let you know that people from the 70s have been doing what we're talking about. This is not a new strategy. And that guy learned from a guy who's been doing it since the 30s, who learned it from a guy who's doing it since the 1800s. So wholesaling creative finance deals or cash deals have been a thing before any of us or our grandparents were even born. And I think that book was divine intervention when I started on YouTube. Just show people that no one really created this. This has always been a gift for everybody. And we just have to go take that gift. But yeah, you can make a ton of money.
Do you mean to say that I didn't invent wholesaling real estate?
Oh no.
I was under the impression that when I was like 8 years old, it was like 2009. I was 8 years old. I was playing in the sand. I was under the impression that I just like invented it. I just got this feeling. I was like, as a child, what if you got a property under contract and then like sign that contract? Those were thoughts I was having at 8 years old. That's crazy. I thought I invented wholesaling real estate and creative finance. I thought I built the very first property ever made.
There was a man who started wholesaling in the 80s he calls himself the godfather of creative financing, one of these guys, and he claims he invented it. And I have a book from 1972 talking about this strategy. That's why I always say, like, guys, people have been getting rich forever on this, but a lot of this used to be just hidden knowledge that everyone can do. One thing I will tell you is, I think we've talked about this before, but I'm talking about sheer volume of people doing it. I've just seen wholesaling off market as just my thing. But that's because, I have a lot of people in my course, so I just see sheer volume. I do see a lot of creative finance people. One thing I will tell you is the amount of success stories I see in creative financing is the cream on the top makes the most money in creative finance. and I see a vast majority of people not doing well. I see the same thing in wholesaling real estate. It's usually always the top 10% that snap it up and get it, always do well.
You got to
So
be
whatever you
competent.
do, you have to work hard.
You got to be competent too.
Yeah.
Cash deals, you could be an idiot with the plan. What
Oh
do I
yeah.
mean by that? I mean to say, if you go on Zillow, let's say Jacksonville, Florida. Jacksonville is one
Mhm.
of the hottest fix and flip markets in the United States. So hot for flipping in Jacksonville, Florida. But if you go to Jacksonville, Florida on market, or if you just look at for sale by owner or deals on
Mhm.
Facebook, you call 100 of them and you lowball like every single one of them. I'm talking 70% of what they're listed for. You probably get a deal. Let's say it's like a 60-70% chance that you get a deal. Pretty likely that you get a deal. You just got to bang your head against the wall. Keep going. You don't have to sound intelligent on the phone. Just bang your head against the wall over and over and over and over again. And eventually somebody will say yes. Whereas creative finance, if you sound like an idiot on the phone, you're not going to get a deal. But at the same time, what do you think this 12-year-old sounds like while he's on the phone? I mean, you don't have to sound perfect. And if you call in cheap markets, the the barrier to entry drops even further. If you're calling in 100K markets, you get 100K realtors. You got to ask yourself what 100K realtors have in terms of their expectations. So, I would say yeah, you got a lot of people who are failing at creative finance. And I would say if you are not confident on the phone, if you don't understand the concept, if you can't back up why you're doing what you're doing,
Mhm.
for example, if a realtor says, what's in it for you to overpay for this property? If you can't answer that question on the
Oh yeah.
fly, start with cash. Start with cash. But if you view yourself as like a sales guy with a little bit more competency, I'm directing you towards creative finance. I'm directing you to find somebody who's had their house listed on market for 100 days, offer more than they ever expected to make. Do it 10 times. In my experience, you'll get somebody to say yes. How would you go about getting your first cash deal? If you're looking for a cash deal, what's the best way to find that first cash deal? I'll tell you the best way to find your first creative finance deal after.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think it's kind of both in my opinion. But I always love pre-foreclosures and probates. The reason is they have the most motivation and they can kind of go creative or they can basically go wholesale or cash, you say, right? Because you can go inside of the clerk of the court, pull the probates, which are people that passed away and the heirs are trying to gain ownership of the property. And basically you offer to buy their house cash. The reason why I say this is because you offer to buy their house cash. They say, no, I want too much. Well, would you take payments? And the way it's a double whammy because I try the wholesale first. If they want that, awesome. I get a deal. They say no. Why don't they want my price? Because they want too much. Okay, go with the realtor. I don't really want to go with the realtor. Okay, boom, creative. And so that's the way I always look at it is because I can hit them with both versus if I go creative, I can't really go cash after. You can, but it's not a general like easy movement. It's not an assembly line of how I like to do things. But yeah, no, I just call them, go to cyber background checks, truepeoplesearch.com, and just call these people up. I text a pre-foreclosure and go from there. That's how I do
It's
it.
really that simple. It's really that simple, guys. You
Yeah.
just pull your lists, start making calls. I don't pull any lists though. That's I
Yeah.
try to avoid pulling lists. The reason I try to avoid pulling lists is because this is burned into my mind. Ready? The number you have called is no longer in service. Goodbye. Oh, oh my God. If I ever hear that again, I just can't hear that again. Every single time I try to pull lists, guys, that's what happens. You better have a dialer, you better be text blasting, you better be using some form of outreach that isn't just your hands. Because if you're just using your hands like to dial these numbers manually in the list that
Mhm.
you pull, you're going to get burned out. You have to have some sort of system. If you can reach out to these people at incredible speed, you might just hit the lottery. Don't try to do that. Don't try to do that without a dialer or something. What do you use? You use Google Voice or something. You have a way to do it for free, don't you?
Yeah, so what you're talking about is literally the worst thing in the world. Okay, 464 789. And you do that thousands of times, you're gonna go crazy. Literally, I tell everyone just go to Google Voice, get a Google Voice Chrome extension, and you just click, call, click, call, click, call, click, call, and that is way easier to do. So Google Voice Chrome extension is definitely the best way. I'm talking about, I'm assuming you have no money, so I'm not getting the whole software thing. Just literally Google Voice, and you can just click to call, click to call, click to call. You're pretty much good to go. Burnout, I think's kind of, I've never felt burnout because when I was 17 and you were making 20 grand a month, you don't ever feel burnout after working as a bag boy. Burnout's really when you get nowhere. And for the majority of people, they get nowhere because they're either not doing the work or they're doing the wrong type of work. And that's kind of where I spend the majority of my time with beginners. It's like, well, are you in the right market? Are you in the right list or the right skip tracing? And most of the time, it's one of those things that are the problem.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. I tried it. I tried it. I got my deals from it. I got a couple deals from it. I was doing off market for some time. And then I switched to for sale by owners. And when I was doing for sale by owners, I mean, that was pretty easy. That was cake. I was doing for sale by owner in 2021. And the for sale by owners, I mean, back in 2021, if you just got it under a contract, it was pretty much a deal. Like
Right.
if you had a guy looking for 150 for his house and you get him to agree to like 140, I mean that was a deal back in 2021. That's not the case anymore, but I just got the bug. There's just so many listings on Zillow at any given time in the United States. You've got 3 million houses for sale on the internet, and that's
Oh yeah.
just talking Zillow. That's not talking about any of the commercial properties. That's not talking about any of the for sale by owners, Facebook, Craigslist, whatever it may be. Just seeing all of them there, I was just like, some of these have to be opportunities. But I mean, of course, you do run into some issues. That 12-year-old who just got that deal, we got a crazy text from a realtor last night. I'll tell you the downside. I'll tell you the downside of creative finance right now, or honestly, not creative finance on market. Listen to this. This is a message we get from a realtor. This is what's going to happen occasionally if you do on market. This is not going to happen if you do off market.
Mm-hmm.
So to the 12-year-old. Dear Anson, this is to formally notify you that the contract of sale you submitted for the purchase of the property located at, it's on Bond Street, somewhere in Baltimore, was not submitted in good faith. We submitted an assignable contract, which they signed. Assignable just means that it's a contract you can wholesale. Upon review, it has become apparent that you are involved in a wholesaling scheme. Nice. The contract literally said that we'd wholesale it, but and had no genuine intention of closing on the property. Contrary to your verbal representations and the terms outlined in the submitted contract, irrelevant. The contract is assignable. Please consider this email of a formal notice that your offer is hereby rejected and will not be accepted by the seller. Get this. They already signed the contract. Then they say, we're going to report you to this fraud bureau and this fraud bureau. I'm like, dog, we're under contract. So I reached out to them and here's what I said. Granite Taylor LLC is the contract holder. You don't have the right to cancel our contract. In fact, you've caused a massive issue for your client. Our contract is in fact assignable, and as such, we will be closing. Failure to perform on this contract will result in an affidavit of memorandum being filed on the property. Anyways, I sent that to the realtor. The realtor says, oh, and says, I guess that will be fine. And now we're back in closing again. But they tried to blow up the deal. The realtor tried to blow up the deal.
What do you say when they say, "Oh, it's assignable"? What's going on here? What's your answer to that?
That never comes up. That never comes up. But I'll tell you what, I have an amazing answer.
All right, it came up right there.
I have an amazing answer. But pre-signing. Sure, you can
Okay.
say that pre-signing, but we're already under contract. I mean, this realtor's delusional. We have signed the contract, and if you try to cancel the contract, I've got a memorandum you've already signed in my contract. Memorandum means that I'm going to put a cloud on title. Means they can't sell the property unless they pay us out. So we were going to get paid regardless in that scenario. But yeah, that's the downside of on market. Now, what happens if somebody's like, oh, is your contract assignable? That's one of the biggest hiccups for beginners. Get this. I want you to record this. These should be your lines exactly. I'm an acquisitions manager and I get equity in properties every single time I find one. Some people wholesale properties and they're paid an assignment fee. I assign my rights and obligations to my partner, and my partner cuts me in as a silent second, and I get 20% equity in every single property I find. So yes, I will be wholesaling it, but I will also be the owner of this property. I will be finding a buyer. I will be assigning my rights and interests to the buyer, but I will also be a part owner of this property. The difference is I'm not bringing funds to the table. So this is how I build my portfolio. I assign my contracts for equity. So yes, I'm your buyer. I'm going to bring a partner into the equation. They're going to fund the deal for me, and I'm going to have a small percentage of equity in this property. That is the exact same thing that you're doing when you get a mortgage. You're simply bringing a partner to the table. The partner brings the money to the table. Of course, you're the full owner of the property, but I'm just bringing a different type of partner to the table. So let's say, is this property assignable? And I would say, I'm not sure you heard my voice. I'm in my early 20s. I'm 16, 17 years old. Like, you don't seriously think that I have like hundreds of thousands in cash just laying around, did you? No? Okay. Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to assign this to my end buyer, but I'm also going to be your owner. So yeah, this is a wholesale deal, but I'm also the owner of the property. So yes, we will be taking title on this. I will be your end buyer. I'm just going to bring somebody else to the table who funds my down payment, who funds my purchase price if it's a cash deal.
I've never heard that one. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's what I say. And the thing
I
is,
like it.
I actually own a property like that. I've actually done this before. I have a property in Temple, Georgia,
Mm.
where a student of mine is a half owner of the property. I didn't have the down payment, so I was like, "Hey, man, how about we wholesale this one for equity?" And essentially, he brought half the down payment to the table, and now we're 50-50 owners of the property. And that was all because this deal is assignable. I assigned the deal to him, but I also closed on it myself. So I'll use a real life example to back that one up, but that's what I'm saying every single time. And of course, you have Jerry Norton's excuse. There's simpler excuses. I understand what I said is a little bit complicated. But, you can say, this is what Jerry Norton says, and I think it's going to work. But my partners and I are the buyers on this. My partners and I. My partners and I are going to be closing on this property.
I don't do that either. That's
You can just leave it at that. I like to give them a little bit more of an explanation though.
Oh yeah. I just say, well, usually you don't buy real estate in one LLC. That's pretty stupid. What you do is you put it into a separate LLC. Every property gets a separate LLC. What we're doing is we're assigning this into a new LLC I'm creating. I call the LLC the street name. So if we're buying 123 Main Avenue, I'm going to call it the 123 Main Avenue LLC. I have to buy it under Zach Ginn Properties though, and then assign it after. And then no one ever cries about that. One thing I don't know why you don't do this because you actually own real estate. I always say, well, duh, I'm buying it and we're putting it into a new LLC. I own blah, 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 blah right across the street. Like, you have a problem with that? And then what I usually do is I just spit out like 5 or 6 LLCs they can look up, and that's all I do. But they're under trusts, but it's like the 568 Main Avenue Trust, and I just send them to them if it's a realtor. Usually it's when I deal with a lawyer. Lawyers are the worst ones. We see an assignability. We can't allow you to do that. Usually I send the LLCs to the lawyer and then they say it's okay. I've never had a lawyer not be okay with an assignability clause if I've give them 5 or 6 trusts of properties in that zip code I bought like the past 4 months.
That's the extension of what Jerry says. Jerry's words exactly are, I have multiple entities and I need the right to assign this to my other entities prior to closing without having to redo the contract. And of course, you could do an addendum, but yeah, most realtors are going to be like, okay, cool. I like to say, I am your buyer. I am your buyer. I like to say, sure, I'm gonna bring
True.
somebody to the table who's going to fund this, but yeah, I am your buyer because they're going to fund the down payment. Instead of being paid a commission, as I normally would be, I'm going to be paid in equity. So I'll be a part owner of this. But alternatively, I have multiple LLCs, I have multiple entities, and I need the right to assign this to other entities prior to closing. If you don't have multiple entities, use my excuse. If you do have multiple entities, as Zach and I do, send them some of your LLCs. Or you could just say the LLC that
Yeah.
some investors like to close on each property in each LLC for asset protection. They want to thicken their corporate veil. And you could say I'm in the process of creating the LLC right now. I mean, I have to know that I'm under contract for this to create the LLC. Each property that I own goes into a new LLC. I need to assign it to that LLC once it's ready.
Oh yeah. I always say, well, I'm making the LLC the name of the address. Obviously, I'm not going to create the LLC, spend $125 without being under contract. But honestly, like, yeah, I mean, I didn't know that's what Jerry uses, but honestly, that's what I found. But that's wholesaling. Creative can be a little different too, obviously on there. But I just say for you, man, I mean, you're already owning the properties. Why don't you just say that? Because your LLC has so much credibility already. But for a
Because
beginner, I get what you're doing though.
I'm not on the fields calling unless I'm doing it on a live stream. Guys, the only time I call
True.
anymore is on live streams. So when I say this, I'm speaking to my audience of between 12 and honestly, we have 70-year-old members, but my most common age is like 21, 22 for students. So I'm speaking to people who have never done a deal before. I'm speaking to people who have no assets, no equity, no experience. lean into your lack of experience and say, this is how I'm building my portfolio. I can either get paid in commission or I can get paid in
Hmm.
equity.
Well, what would you do to get your first creative deal then?
That's a good question. So are you circling back around to talk about what you do to get your first cash? So you kind of already talked about it.
Oh
You talked
yeah,
about
pre-foreclosures, probates. I mean, I can pop off, 8 or 9 people the last 2 days in my Discord that they're making 15, $20,000 doing it. But like, I mean, you can go inside of any of our social medias and see us like, oh, the thing about it, Richard's stuff works. If you go see his Discord, he'll show you, or his Instagram, he'll show you, hey, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. You just go inside of any of my social media, it's like this guy, this guy. We're both producing results. So it's just like, it's like Italian or like Mexican food. Like they're both amazing. It's like they're both going to be good, dude. People have different preferences, obviously, but like it's like Mercedes or BMW. I know that one hits you hard, but like they're both pretty nice cars, man. So
dude, we gotta go with BMW, bro. We gotta go. Regardless, manual transmission hits it home. That's all I'll say.
no, I
Anyways,
I could race an AMG and be happy. I could be an M5 and be happy. I don't really cry about it. They're both amazing cars.
I need three pedals, man. Okay,
Sure.
how am I getting my first deal with creative finance? That's such a hard question to answer because there's so many different ways.
You have no
Uh,
money and you're 17.
okay, so if I were to pick up a deal today, the strategy I'd go about is I'd find somebody who's expecting to lose money on the sale of their house, and I do it in a secondary market. So this actually isn't what I'd recommend, but I'll tell you what I would do is because if you're a little bit more well versed in real estate, this may be what you want to do. But I'm going to one of the softwares, Batch Leads, PropStream, X Leads for Zach. And I'm essentially throwing in a filter, a low equity filter. I'm finding somebody who's got a house listed for 300,000 and they owe $280,000. I'm calling them up and I'm offering them their asking price. I'm saying, hey, but maybe 5K below. I'm finding a 300K house and they owe 280, and I'm hitting them with a 295 offer. And the realtor is going to say, oh no, I'm sorry, we need our asking price. And I'm going to say, dog, you've been on market for 3 months and I just offered you 5K below your asking price in cash. Why doesn't that work? And then you know what they're going to say? Well, your offer actually is very, very good. We understand that's a very good offer. But unfortunately, my client needs their asking price because of their mortgage balance. They won't make any money otherwise. And I get them to say it. I don't actually say it looks like your client's going to lose money on the sale. I don't say that. I get them to say it by offering them a very good offer, just slightly below their asking price. They reject that offer. And then I say, so if this is one of the highest offers you've gotten and you're still going to lose money on the sale here, why don't we just take over your client's debt? Why don't we just take over the debt? I'll pay your commission. Make sure you say you'll pay their commission because they don't understand how they're going to get paid. And that's the first thing a realtor's thinking about. And I'll go ahead and put money in your client's pocket. I mean, I'd be happy to do the cash offer. I'm happy to do the other one, but you just said that won't work. And that's a really high offer. So like, why don't we just take over their debt? That's what I'm doing to get another deal. That's what I'm doing to get another deal. But they're going to have some questions like, how are you taking over the debt? What happens if this happens? You've got to know some things to make that one work. So let me give you a different one too, because I don't have just one way to get your first deal. You could also go the 12-year-olds route. The 12-year-olds route is find a 100K house, 150K house, stack a crazy interest rate onto it. It'll still cash flow. 100K house that's been sitting on the market in a secondary market for a long time. That'll still work. I would say though, probably one other way that I like, multifamilies that don't cash flow. We touched on this last podcast, but this is one that I'm obsessed with right now. This is pretty close to the first pitch that I gave you, but if you find a 500K multifamily, 500K duplex, let's say West Coast. I'm in the West Coast right now. What does a duplex rent out for? Well, my buddy is in a triplex. The triplex is worth $900,000 and he pays $1,100 per month, and there's 3 units, meaning that the $900,000 triplex brings in $3,300. So let's just use that as an example. 900K triplex bringing in $3,300. Okay, cool. I call them up and I offer them pretty close to their asking price, much like the first pitch that I told you. But this time there's no mortgage on the property. Difference is no mortgage on the property. And when I offer them close to their asking price, I caveat that by saying, well, let me just make sure this is cash flows. Let me just make sure I'm making money on this one right here. And then I plug it into the mortgage calculator. I find out my mortgage is actually $6,000 per month on the $900,000 house. And then I'm bringing in $3,300. And then I call them and I'm like, or I'm still on the phone with them as I do this. I'm like, ooh, you say you're bringing in $3,300 on this one? And they say, yeah. And I say, my mortgage is 6,000. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, okay. Why don't you put down a bigger down payment? And I'm like, dog, that's with me putting down $180,000, 20%. But I'm putting down a massive down payment. And then I asked them to solve that problem for me. I'm like, what do I do about that? I play stupid. I say, how do I solve that? Oh, I know. Can you get me a lender with a 3% interest rate? They say, no, I can't do that. That doesn't exist anymore. And I say, oh, okay. Well, maybe your client would be willing to accept a lowball so that I can cash flow. No, they wouldn't be doing that. And I say, so what's the solution? This is clearly a property for investors, but if I get a mortgage on this, I'm losing $3,000 a month. And they say, their next answer is, well, we're looking for somebody to house hack. And I say, totally understand. You're looking for a retail buyer, but you've been on market for a long time, hundreds of days at this point. Is it possible that you haven't found a retail buyer because in order to qualify for primary residence on this, you need to have proof of income of like $200,000 per year to qualify for this $900,000 house? And they say yes. And I say, okay, well, the average person in this zip code, which you can find on Google, makes 45 a year. So I just go through every single option. I say, okay, well, will you accept a lowball so I can cash flow? No. Will you find me a lender at a low interest rate so I can cash flow? No. Well, you can't find a house hack buyer because people make 45K here and you need 200K to qualify for this loan. And then I say, so what are you doing on market? What's even the solution here? An investor can't qualify for this because there's no cash flow. A retail buyer can't qualify for this because there's no income in the area to allow them to qualify. You won't take a low ball and you can't find me somebody with a low interest rate. Isn't this literally an impossible deal for every type of buyer? And they say, yes. I say, okay. What if instead of 900? And I always tell them, I don't want to do this. Maybe you can find me that low interest rate. Maybe you can find a way for me to do this conventionally. I lean into me wanting to do it the normal way at their asking price. But I say, I don't want to do this. But what if instead of 900, we looked at, call it 950, and I give you $90,000 right now, make you payments for 6 years, and then give you the rest at the end of the 6 years. And then as soon as I say that, I say, I hate this idea. I don't want to do this. I really don't. I don't want to do this. Maybe, are you sure you can't find me a lender at a 3% interest rate? And they say, no, I can't. And I make it seem like it was their idea. But in reality, there is no other solution. No retail buyer is going to come in. No investor can qualify. Did you guys know that an investor qualifying for a loan is based on cash flow if you're using a DSCR loan? Right. Sure. I mean, it's based on credit too a little bit, but it's a debt service coverage ratio loan. That means that if you're not cash flowing, you're not qualifying. So the investor can't, the retail buyer can't, they can't take a low ball. They can't get me a lower interest rate. What's the solution here? You've been on market for hundreds of days. Why are you even trying to sell? How about you deactivate your listing? Oh, unless I could offer you over your asking price on a short set of payments. By the way, I hate that idea. I really hate that idea. Are you sure there's no way you could get me a 3% interest rate? And I play stupid like that. And they say, no, I guess we'll present it. Do that 3 times, you've got a deal.
There we go, man. Hey, I want to give a shout out to Richard. He got his first shot from social media personalities last week. And I sent it to you. I thought it was the funniest thing ever. I texted you. I don't know if you really understood or watched that because they said this kid. The first thing people do to bring you down is kid, obviously. This little child, right? 12-year-old. He's going out here on Discord just sending offers blindly, no calling. And he is ruining the wholesaling industry. I want to give a shout out to you on that one because that is the complete opposite of what you do. And when I was on your first time on your Discord, I'm like, you're calling these people, right? You said, yes. Why would I ever not do that? And you're making some strides, man. People are getting a little scared of you.
Dude, I went on Wholesale Hotline 2 years ago just to talk about what I was doing. And it was just like a little fun interview thing. And then I find out that they're talking about me in my software program. When they say offers blindly, I mean, I have a software that it's not like Zach software. I have an offer generator software. My software, it generates offers. It doesn't pull leads. That's not what it's for. So essentially it gives you the right offer for the right situation, cash or creative finance, and it allows a beginner to call. It gives you even a script that you can use. And it just allows them to call. So I have an army of 10,500 people calling, making offers that generates us anywhere from 30 to 50 deals per month. And yeah, I guess Wholesale Hotline got wind of that, and they're not so happy about it. But hey, we got 12-year-olds closing deals, so I guess they're pretty happy about it.
But I'm just saying, like, people are talking about you saying, like, you're terrible, you know what you're doing, and you're just blindly doing it. I think it's crazy how people can just take a shot without even knowing. It's just crazy to me. But I want to make it very clear that, like, what he's doing is not what other people are saying that he's doing. And it's crazy to me that, like, you would even give a creative finance offer without even talking to somebody, which it's not. I don't, because you're probably like, you might have watched that and been like, wait, what is he? Is this what he's teaching me? I just want to make that very clear. We can talk about all the shots I've been hit with, but that one is, I think, the first one. That's how you know you made it, right? Um, basically, this kid's going out here doing blind offers, but I want to make it clear: call the person, you'll get them closed.
Call. Don't do this without talking to people, guys. It's not that oh, it's like not responsible. You won't get the deal. People do business with those they like and trust, and you're not getting somebody to both like and trust you over a damn email. It's just not happening. You need to build that relationship with them. I always like to rapport over the weather. I always like to talk about natural disasters, the weather. When I'm on the phone with realtors, they'll just start yapping. Let them yap, build a relationship with them, because you're playing a game of telephone and your offer is conveyed to the seller in on-market wholesaling as well as you build a relationship with the realtor. So if that is your best friend, one, they're going to understand what you're saying more because they'll want to understand what you're saying. First thing. Two, they're going to present you positively to their client. So, here's it could go two ways. This could be the conversation they have with their client, two different versions. Yeah, so I'm obligated to tell you about this offer. I had this guy call me. I guess he wants to like make payments to you or something. I mean, what do you think? You want payments on this one? And then they're like, no, I don't want payments on this one. No. Or I had this awesome investor call me and he kind of ran through all the scenarios with me. Unfortunately, investors just can't qualify for this because of the cash flow it's bringing in. The income doesn't exist in the market to actually get a loan on this property. It kind of leaves us with only one option. And I really think you should consider it, but he wants to offer you over your asking price on a short set of payments. Like that's how the offer could be presented to the seller. It really just depends on the relationship that you build with them. So I'm not calling because I want to call. Why would I want to call? I have to call. I have to. It's the only way to get it done.
I don't know if you were trying to be funny, but you said to do a deal, you have to talk to people, right? You said that'd be funny?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what do you mean? To do the deal, you have to talk to people. I don't understand.
I'll tell you later.
He'll tell me, okay, all right, well, it's going over my head.
I'll tell you. Okay, it's a joke. You'll see it in the comments, but I'll tell you later. Okay.
Guys, I'm
No. Okay, whatever. All right.
I'm too slow for this. I'm too slow for this.
No.
All right.
One thing I want to give to you though that I think is really important on wholesaling creative finance deal is if you take a property over subject to the existing mortgage and you do it wrong, like the contract's messed up, you have no title company looking it over, there's no good underwriting. There's a lot of bad things that could happen. If you do a subject to wrong, you could really get sued bad. So I think you wholesaling the subject to deal takes pretty much all the liability away because you're assigning it. And I do want to make that very, 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 very clear. If you do creative finance wrong, you can really get in trouble. But if you're doing it correctly, like for example, you do it subject to, and you put it in their name to your name, and like you don't do any of the right, correct maneuvers, terrible contract, terrible disclosures, and it goes into your name, you're going to get cooked. So I want to make that very, very clear. Wholesaling the creative deal, the liability is pretty much kind of off your plate. And it's very different than taking it over and putting your own name and doing it like some other people say it. So, yeah.
You need a TC, guys. You need a TC. For cash deals, you can pretty much get these closed on your lonesome, but like you can close a creative deal solo. Like I've closed a ton of sub 2 deals solo. But then it's up to the title company to do all the documents, and I just don't trust them. They just do everything wrong.
No.
So it's interesting. if you're going to be wholesaling creative finance in bulk, you need a TC. You 100% need a TC. What I would do is I'd go on Facebook. If you're in a Facebook group, like look up creative finance real estate, right? You'll have a Facebook group with maybe 20,000 people. And then once you're in that group, they're going to have you answer a couple questions, get you in the group. Top right corner, there's a search bar, search transaction coordinator. You can have people marketing their transaction coordinator services, talk to them about the types of deals they do. I'm sure they're doing creative finance if they're in a creative finance group, and they can transaction coordinate your deal. Guys, without my transaction coordinator, and I never understood this, I really never understood this until I had one, because I was just closing them myself. I was being my own TC. But guys, this is the beauty of it. When I get a seller to say yes, I put them in a group chat with my TC. They do the contract, they open escrow, they close the deal, they submit it to my dispo team. When I used to be wholesaling real estate, guys, as soon as you got a yes to the seller, okay, open DocuSign. Let me drag the fields into DocuSign. Let me send it to the seller. Oh, there's a glitch in the DocuSign, and I got to resend the DocuSign. I got to resend the DocuSign. Like, how many of you have been in that situation? Probably all of you, if you're listening to this. Like, you send the DocuSign, there's a glitch. They can't open it. They got to resend it. That's time that takes away from your calling.
Dude, so that's happened to me 3 times.
Oh yeah, it's just it's just a headache and a half, guys. Get yourself a transaction coordinator, especially if you're doing creative finance. And if you're doing cash, do it solo for now, but eventually you're still going to need a TC. There's just going to be too many title issues. Like title issues they're complicated, man. They really are. My TC is about to have a kid. Her name's Lexi. She's going to have a kid. Her baby shower was yesterday in January here. I'm worried, man. I'm worried. My TC is going to be out of commission for like maybe 2 months. And she, of course, she needs that time with her kid. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit nervous for what's gonna happen in January. I gotta find somebody to fill her shoes, and the big ass shoes. Shout out Lexi if you're listening to this.
Yeah, it's always the one. Let's call it the one person principle. If this one person left your business, how screwed would you be? And there's usually that one person. That's probably your TC.
God, I could have my dispo manager leave. I could have my cash dispo manager leave. I could have my DMs girl leave. Honestly, you know what's great about my employees, Zach? When I went to the Philippines this past month, I spent a month abroad in the Philippines with all my employees. We hung out for a month. We rented an entire hotel, not a room. We rented the entire hotel and the staff to the hotel. But you know what we did there?
What?
Tattoo artist came over and tattooed the company logo, Buy Box Cartel, and Hold My Hand Wholesale onto all but 2 employees. I have 22 employees, Zach.
Wow.
Every single
one. You have
one
tatted on you?
No, I don't get tattoos. This is not a tattoo. No, I don't. Tattoos aren't really my thing, which is crazy because we also met the oldest tattoo artist in the world. And I was like, no, I'm still not getting a tattoo. I don't want a tattoo. But anyways, here's the thing. I didn't tell them to get tattoos. I didn't even know this was happening. I had no idea this was happening. I was like, oh, we're just going to hang out here. And then Chris was like, hey, tattoos could be fun, guys, because Chris likes tattoos. My business partner, Chris, you guys know, look up Chris Gallagher. He runs Buy Box Cartel. But Chris gets this tattoo guy over because he's just going to get his own tattoo. And then Chris getting his own Buy Box Cartel tattoo, which is our little milk carton logo. You can look it up online. Every other employee gets a tattoo. Every single one of my employees has a Buy Box Cartel tattoo. That creates some special loyalty. You know, you talk to them, and they want us. They want to stay. They want to stay for life. Because think about it, guys. Imagine you leave this company and you have a milk carton that says Buy Box Cartel on your leg, on your arm, on your shoulder, wherever it may be. Take a trip to the Philippines with your employees. Don't tell them to get tattoos. Just get your own tattoo. They're all going to get it, and then they're with you for life. You'll never have employee turnover again. Just make sure they all get the company logo tattooed.
I like it. I mean, I got no tats, but I think if you told me a certain amount of people would sign up for X Leads, I get a nice little shoulder X Leads tat. How many people would you have to get on your Discord for you to get a Buy Box Cartel tattoo? Name a number and then you can get the tattoo.
I'll name a revenue figure. I don't know what the number is.
Probably a number would be better.
500 a month.
Oh, wow.
If I'm doing, and that's about 25, I think that's 25,000 numbers. If I were doing $500,000 a month off of my Discord and subscriptions, I'd probably have to get it tattooed. I don't know. Here, the reason I don't like tattoos is because I notice how much I'm changing. I look at myself a year ago, I'm a shell of the person who I was.
Mhm.
And I'm the type of person, if I make like a life altering decision or a permanent decision and I don't vibe with that decision, I'm gonna be sad, man. I'm gonna feel really, really, really bad. So I changed too much to get a tattoo. I'll tell you that. But yeah, I think I'd get the our Hold My Hand Wholesale logo. Maybe it's our Hold My Hand Wholesale logo is kind of like this. You can't exactly see it, but it's like two hand. It's like a hand reaching for a hand that's falling. Hold My Hand
There
Wholesale.
we go.
Maybe
I like
maybe
it, man.
maybe in the future.
But I do really like the wholesaling creative thing because the liability is not there. But I do want to make it very clear. If you do it wrong, it could. I mean, I've seen the do on sale clause cook so many people. So
Oh yeah,
I just want them to make sure you do it right. And
do it right.
the only thing I will tell you, just do not try to own it yourself if you don't know what you're doing. That's the most important thing possible. Yeah, that's all I could say on that end. But no, I think off market's still my favorite. I've just seen the sheer amount of people. But the thing is, when I was 17, I was a complete idiot, like complete stupid. I didn't know how to talk to sellers. I was terrible talking to sellers, but I fumbled my way to 20 grand and I fumbled my way to $100,000 just off of just sheer action. I don't think I'd be able to make 100 grand doing creative. I think if I put my mind to it, it really took me a year or two to really build the skills to talk to a seller correctly. And that was me doing a stupid amount of deals. So I think but I would say if I think I had the education now, I think I probably could do it. I think that's the big difference. Remember in 2016, dude, what was the education for talking to a seller in creative? It's a
I
$14,000 course.
I was 14, 15 years old, so I was more concerned about the new Fortnite map dropping. So
Yeah, but
couldn't
there's no education when I started. So that's why I think maybe I'm an old head. But like there's no education for like how to talk to a seller on creative at all when I was 16, 17, right?
done.
I think the education right now, I think any newbie can do it though.
Oh
I think
yeah.
that's the main difference.
Yeah, guys, I'm a big believer in that cash deals are going to get you big fees, but creative deals can get you big fees as well. It's so like on average, cash single family house, I see $20,000. $20,000 every single cash deal you get. That's pretty average. It's going to take you longer to get your cash deal, but you'll have a bigger payday. However, I got a student named John Ali right now. He is about 6 months into my Discord, and he has $500,000 in closing. You know what his strategy is right now? And you know what? I hate to say things without producing actual examples. I have his assignment contract on my phone right now. You want to see his assignment contract? Check this out. This is his assignment contract. See if I can zoom into that figure right
Hmm.
there. Check this out. Is it going to load? See that? That's an individual $100,000. Oh,
Oh wow.
that's an individual $102,000 assignment fee. He has that because he does creative finance on portfolios. You see, if you sell a portfolio, you're going to be paying ridiculous
Oh yeah.
capital taxes. Your capital gains taxes are 20% on whatever your gain is. If you're a landlord who's owned it for 30 years and you just paid that off until it was free and clear, which trust me, there are a lot of those individuals. Like a lot of the portfolio guys are older landlords. They're paying hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in capital gains taxes, and they don't need all of that money right now.
Hmm.
Your down payment is still hundreds of thousands of dollars. They're still chilling off of your down payment alone. You save them in taxes you don't pay taxes on money you haven't received. So if you make payments on a property, that's what I'm saying. You don't pay taxes on it. So this guy, John Ali, he calls individuals who have portfolios, and you can easily find these on Zillow. Just look up package. If you the search bar, not the search bar, go to more, click more on Zillow and filter keyword package, filter keyword portfolio, filter keyword sold separately. You'll find people who have one property that's part of like 25 others, 30 others. Offer them terms. You can pick them up in all one scoop. People love it when you can do all of their deals in one. And then the investor that you're finding for that, they're paying you $100,000, just like I showed you.
There we
You can
go.
make $100,000 off of one creative finance deal, offering somebody more than they were ever expecting to make, saving them hundreds of thousands, if not $1 million in capital gains taxes. I will say though, that 12-year-old who got the deals on the 100K house, those are 5K deals. Each one's a 5K deal. But I'll also say he's 20 days in. Literally discovered this business 20 days ago. And he's got four. I bet he's going to have five this month. So yeah, it's there's trade-offs. There's trade-offs. Smaller checks, easier to get the deal, maybe. Bigger checks with cash deals, gotta hunt a little bit longer. Um, so it kind of depends. Both are awesome strategies. I'm an advocate of both. And honestly, I feel bad that I'm not doing more cash deals. I do.
Dude, I have 24,000 people sign up for freewholesaling.com every month. That's about 280 a year. And it's about a 5% of those people get their first deal in a year. If you average 15, $20,000 the average deal, that's almost 200 million a year from just people that learn from me in assignment fees. And those guys only do one deal. I probably have 100, 200 people on that I've interviewed that have learned from me, making at least a quarter million a year on my YouTube channel. Just go to any of my interviews. Uh, I mean that it's just sheer volume in my opinion on the off-market stuff, but obviously I am the largest wholesaling educator when it comes to like on a course. So maybe I'm a little skewed, but like the problem is I don't have I don't think there is 300,000 people that are actively trying to get a creative finance deal. I know there's probably 300,000 learning under me. Probably only 500,000 like overall on people that signed up for the course that are actively trying to get an off-market deal. So I'm curious to see on like the percent success rate, but I think more people should try creative. I don't think there's a lot. There's you
It's
and like
it's
three other people. That's it.
yeah, guys, it's the solution for where the market's going right now. It's the when rates are really, really low, cash flourishes, guys. It
Oh
really,
yeah.
really flourishes. When rates are high like they are right now, 6.7%, rates haven't been that high since 2005.
No, I know.
Rates have
Nuts.
rates have not been at 6.7% or so since 2005, which is crazy. We're 20-year high interest rates right now. I haven't read the news. I don't know what's happening. Maybe they're going up, maybe they're going down. I know they're going down for a bit. Now they're going back up. I think they're going to stay around 6.7%. Guys, with this happening, with us entering into more and more and more of a buyer's market everywhere throughout the United States, you're going to need to know creative finance, guys. Those who only know cash are going to suffer. It's kind of like the people I saw selling to hedge funds. I saw a lot of people selling to hedge funds back in 2020, 2021. They're all gone now. Like they're all done. All of those people are done. But those who learned creative finance, they're still in it. If you can do off-market cash deals, you're still in it. But I'll be honest, my Discord, I do like 3 to 5 cash deals a month, like very, very few cash deals per month. I
Crazy.
typically see like a house in Tampa or a house in Jacksonville, 150,000, and some student gets it for 90. That makes up one of our cash deals. I did one cash deal 2 months ago myself. The last time I personally did a cash deal was 2 months ago. Um, it was a deal in Columbus, Ohio. I got it under contract for 100K. We assigned it for $118,000. It was off market. It was an off market deal. The seller just happened to call me. I like, actually, I will say the place where I offer cash is my website submissions. People submit their houses to me on my
Yeah.
website. They want to sell me their house. That is such a good spot to offer cash. Like you'll have somebody who's like, yeah, I would sell this for 90K, and it's like a house in upstate New York, and like you could list that thing novation agreement for 150 all day long. Oh yeah. I mean, that's a powerful strategy when they don't know what their property is worth. If they do know what their property is worth, use the multiple offer strategy regardless. Hit them with creative finance, hit them with cash, probably cash first, then creative finance later.
I agree. One thing I will say that I don't agree with is I think wholesaling is always, I mean, I have a book from 1973 about wholesaling. My dad, Rick, has made, so he made his first 7 figures when he was 2018, 2019, the first year I started with him. But he's made 6 figures in wholesaling since 2002, every year since 2002. So any interest rate you can wholesale, like it's just, the thing about it, Costco's always made money because they wholesale groceries and stupid stuff. We wholesale the American dream, which is real estate. So I think creative finance, when interest rates are super low, you can do them. I prefer lease options when they're lower. When they're super high, you can make. That's the thing about creative. You can make money on no equity, high equity, anything, right? In wholesaling, you're always going to be able. There's always going to be a guy who is behind his mortgage. You can wholesale it pretty quick to anybody. My opinion is I think both of them are always going to make money, and I don't think one's going to supersede it. I think they're pretty much equal, in my opinion. But I think I think anyone should just try both, and they're always going to work. That's the way I look at it. The thing about Richard, the thing I will tell you though about the way you do creative, is the previous generation of creative people 3 or 4 years ago before you started, the way that they reached out to realtors for creative financing deals has become obsolete. It is completely a thing. Well, can I take up your property subject to the existing mortgage? You already know there's 15, 20 guys on a listing that do that. Always happens. So that before you, okay, let's take you out of the equation. That's what on-market creative used to be. That's what the market was. When I started, no one was doing that. Then some people came around and started teaching people how to do that. That got saturated. There's 20, 30 people doing it. You came in and you found a way to just basically destroy those people, like completely obliterate them, not even be in the same realm of competition with them, right? And so you're in a new wave now, which is pretty cool. I do want to explain that the way that you're doing subject twos and creative financing on market is not the way that you're probably thinking in your mind. You approach it way differently. I wanted to make that clear because I think some people watch this like the first time they've ever seen you, and they think you're like, oh, let me take up payments for your property to a realtor, and you get cooked doing that now.
Yeah, they'll all say no. They'll all say no. Hi, I'm calling about your listing on 123 Main Street. You want to take payments? No, no, no.
But people think that's what it is.
I call people who have to take payments, and I give them every other option, and I beg them to make the other options work for me before I can do creative finance. I'm like, no, I really, really don't want to make payments on your property. I really don't want to do that. Are you sure there's no way I could get a loan? And I essentially make it their idea. But yeah, you call somebody up, you offer payments to their property. No. You call somebody up, you offer to take over their debt. No. But what do? We're not even doing real estate transactions, guys. I don't wholesale real estate. I wholesale trusts a lot of the time. So I'm buying 6, 7 houses right now. I bought a house yesterday in the Poconos. I bought an Airbnb yesterday, and no, it wasn't yesterday. It was Friday. We did it on the TikTok live stream. I bought a house on TikTok live. Taught the notary creative finance as I was buying it because he noticed that my note was at 0% interest. But I'm not actually doing real estate transactions. I am doing personal property transfers. The reason that I say that is because when I take over somebody's debt, I don't do it subject to the existing mortgage. Subject to deals are real estate transactions. You're purchasing a property subject to the existing mortgage. I purchase trusts. It's the same legal thing as selling a boat, selling a ring, selling a car. You're selling personal property. So we do a personal property transfer when we purchase a trust. So the way that I'm taking over somebody's debt without having to qualify for that debt, without having the risks of subject to, without getting shut down by the realtor, is I say, oh, I'd never expose your client to the risk of subject to. Let's put the property into the trust and I'll buy the trust. And I've got an attorney that can close that deal for me every single time. And you also avoid transfer tax. So when you are purchasing a property and you have closing costs, I actually just learned this, but I just bought this house seller finance on Friday. I had $8,000 in closing costs. $8,000 in closing costs. Those are transfer taxes in Pennsylvania because it's in the news. So I had disgusting transfer taxes on this property. But I'm also at the same time taking over 5 properties that have mortgages below 3%, 2.65% loans. My closing costs are like 3-4K. They're so cheap with the trusts, and I'm talking 500K houses. It's crazy. But yeah, guys, I'm literally eating up 5 or 6 single family properties right now with sub 3% interest rates, and I'm paying somewhere between 5 and 10% as down payments on these. Sometimes we're paying less than that. I mean, we got this one deal where it's 10K down on 300,000. I got this, you know what? This is a wholesale deal for me. I'm not taking title on this, but I got a house in Surprise, Arizona, 365K, 4 or 5K down. Super desirable location, close to Phoenix. I mean, maybe Surprise is in Phoenix. It's like a subset of Phoenix, but yeah. $5,000 down for a 365K house. I mean, not only should you know about this for wholesaling purposes, you need to know about this for the housing crisis. We touched on this earlier. Zach said that we're selling the American dream. Guys, the American dream is dead. Let me just say that it's dead, except for if you're an entrepreneur. The reason the American dream is dead is because in the 1930s, when you worked at General Electric or Ford Motors, you could afford a house for you and your family. The wife
Oh
didn't
yeah.
work, she stayed at home, and you could still afford a house. Now you work an equivalent minimum wage job. You're literally homeless. Like you are impoverished, living off of your credit card. The American dream is dead because you can't go get a W-2 job and expect to afford a house unless you live in Ohio. Like it's just not going to happen. As of right now, Forbes has the median housing price at $495,000. And in order to qualify for that loan, you need to have proof of income of $155,000. You need to be making 3.5 times your mortgage payment. And in Texas, that's going to be $155,000 per year. You can't qualify for the average house in the United States anymore. Creative finance is how your family is going to build generational wealth. It's going to be how you get yourself out of the system. And guys, with AI right now, the rate at which we discover new things is going to go through the roof. The housing crisis, worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse.
Oh
Like
yeah.
you and your family are never, ever, ever getting a house unless you know creative finance. It's the only way.
Dude, I agree. I don't want to get into a political thing, but like if if average house in Portland's 500,000, what do you think? I already know how to solve the housing crisis in Portland, right? What I would do is I would build a 500 unit, really cheap but really affordable and nice for teachers, sanitation workers, stuff like that. Guess what happens if I go to Portland right now and okay, can I get a permit on this vacant piece of forest? Denied. Why? Because the guy bought his house in Portland for four quarters and a nickel and for 50 grand, and now it's worth 1.7 million. And he doesn't want his property value to go down, so he's not going to approve my project to make basically lower end workers affordable housing. I can rent to them for $1,000 a month. If I can make the numbers right on building it, that's the American problem. And I've told everyone about this, and it really bothers me that these permits don't ever get accepted. Like there's one locally here where they were trying to build a 300 unit and they just denied it because they call it traffic, but their property values will go down. And that's kind of what we're trying to do. It's
Guys,
crazy.
West Coast, like housing crisis is infinitely worse than the
They don't
West
let you
Coast.
build though there, man.
It's a problem. It's a problem. And also, guys, I'm in a $1 million house by the river right now. I bought this by taking over the guy's debt.
There you go.
I'm in a $1 million house. I closed on it when I was 22 years old. Actually, on my 23rd birthday, I closed on this property, and I purchased this property for $1 million. Actually, no, 950,000. But I've poured about 150 into it, so I'm guessing it's worth a little over a million right now with all my renovations. But I bought this for 950, 65 down. 65K down on 950. Are you kidding me? Yeah, well, he was in the right situation to accept it in 4% interest. Easy, easy. How many wholesale deals is 65K? Well, I showed you one. It was a $102,000 wholesale deal. You could be living in $1 million property. You could be living in $1 million property using creative finance, but I'll give you a more applicable example. How much do you pay for rent right now, listeners? Listeners, you may have roommates. You may be living in the West Coast. If you're living in a studio apartment in the West Coast, you're paying $2,500 per month. If you are living with roommates, maybe you pay $1,000 per month and you have four roommates, something like that. Guys, you could easily just be living in a property with creative finance and being paying the same amount. I mean, I just told you I have this house in Surprise, Arizona for 5K down. What's your security deposit? Didn't you and your roommates cough up 5K just as a security deposit to get into your current rental?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you already spent that money. You'd already have to spend the down payment. You could get this deal right now. You could literally live in a house and build equity right now. You already spent the down payment on literally just your security deposit. Let's say it's you and a partner. You and your girlfriend, you and your boyfriend, whoever it may be, have $5,000 cumulatively together because you have to spend your security deposit on a property. You're already paying $2,000 a month. Guys, the mortgage for that property, $2,200. 5K down and $2,200, no qualification. Why are you renting? Stop renting. Find yourself a low equity house, give the seller $5,000. You could even skip trace them to bypass the agent's fee. That's what we did on this one. And you own a house now. You own a house. You don't have to do what I do. This is 65,000 down. You don't have to do that. You could put 5,000 down. I've got other deals. I've got 9711 Chelsea Circle in San Antonio or Selma, Texas, which is San Antonio, $0 down. I've got 12136 Thornridge Road in Oklahoma City, $0 down. I've got this one in Arizona, 5K down. Why are you renting? Find somebody who's going to lose money on the sale of their house, give them 5K, give them $0. They're going to lose money on the sale of their house. And then your mortgage payment is probably less than what you're paying in rent right now. You're going to have to spend the money on a security deposit anyways. Buy yourself a house, escape the housing crisis, build generational wealth. All right, mic drop. I'm done. I'm done yapping.
I agree. You probably the reason no one tells you about that is because the bank can't get their loan origination fee. The difference between 7 and 4% that you're paying is probably 35, 40 grand a year that the bank just would have been making, right? Because they're still taking the money and loaning it out, and they can't make money off of that, right? You're using the seller as the banker. I don't know the situation of that specific property, but like no one's going to tell you about it, and no one has an incentive because the banks can't make money off of that. So no one's going to tell you about it. But that is the American dream. And the worst part about it is the one thing I tell everyone about creative finance, though, is if you're looking to buy your own house subject to, there's no loan officer who's going to judge you or discriminate against you based off of your past. The seller doesn't care, right? You can have a person who's making 35, 40 grand a year who's underwriting your deal says denied for whatever reason they want. Seller, if they go with you, they're the bank.
I don't actually know the answer to this question. Does the title company ever ask you for ID when you close a deal?
For me, not mine because I close so many, but I mean,
I've never been asked for ID when I close a deal. And with my trust method, I don't think there's any reason. I know you can't legally sign a contract under 18, but who checks? Who checks? You could technically put a trust in the baby's name. I mean, right? You're a trust fund kid.
Yeah,
right?
but I notarize all my documents, so I need my ID with that.
Right. Let's say
when you don't notarize it, it gives you less legal rights to it. So that's the reason. Like I do an affidavit of if I do a memorandum, I'm getting that notarized, so there's no question.
I think that if you were a minor, don't quote me here, guys, but I'm pretty sure if you're a minor, you could close a land contract. I know
There's
legally
ways around it. I'm not going to say. I'll tell you off camera because
I know legally you're not supposed to, guys, but
legally you can.
I'm pretty sure if you're 14, because you can't sign the contract, right? Legally, you can't sign the contract. But if you're 14 or 15 years old, like I don't think you'd run into any hiccups closing a land contract. I don't think you would. And also, I've been wondering this for a while. I know you're not supposed to sign contracts as a minor, but I think you could wholesale as a minor. Like, I don't think they actually check ID at the title company assigning. You're not supposed to, but like, could you?
So for example, is a 15-year-old allowed to buy stocks?
I don't know. I don't know anything about stocks. I think so.
They
right?
are. They are. They are. Let's make this even crazier. Am I allowed to gift stock to a 10-year-old?
Yes. Maybe. I don't know anything.
You are. You are legally allowed to do that. Am I legally allowed to give money to a 10-year-old? Yes. So you kind of look at all these things. So, okay, so if somebody buys Apple stock for $200 a share and they're 14, which is illegal to do, that company, Apple Incorporated, you are owner of a share. They just bought an Apple store. You know, they bought the Apple store in Portland, Oregon. They just signed a contract. Is it illegal now because a 14-year-old owns one of the shares of the company? No. An officer of the company signed it. That's an adult. Huh, interesting. So that's all I could say. There's ways around everything. One thing I could tell you is, yeah, 18-year-old minors cannot sign contracts, but minors can benefit from somebody signing a contract.
That's true. The way that we have the 12-year-old closing deals is through Bobox Cartel. Anytime the reason that we have a lot of people in our program is because it enables kids to do deals. And we don't market to kids, obviously, but if you were to join Hold My Hand Wholesale, you would make an offer per our instructions. You'd get an offer accepted. And then after you have that offer accepted, you know, they're looking for a credible LLC. They want to see an LLC that owns properties. You can figure that stuff out. They want to see an LLC that's been there for a while. My LLC has been active since 2019. And sometimes if they don't, it can hurt the deal. So what we do, and also maybe you legally can't sign the contract, is Bobox Cartel sends and signs the contract for you under our company name. So that's how kids do deals and Hold My Hand. Also, we sign for them. Whenever it comes to them getting a payout, what we do is we have their parents sign a parental consent form because I can't be sending minors $20,000. Like, what does it look like when I send a 12-year-old $20,000? Something bad. We don't even want to talk about what it looks like. It looks bad. So we have the parents sign a 1099 form, allowing them to that helps for our tax purposes, and then we have them sign a parental consent form that says that they can receive money, and usually the parents get wired the money. However, if they have a PayPal account and the parents sign it, we'll send it there.
There we go. I like it. I've paid. All right, I'm not gonna say that sounds like a terrible quote. I have given out money for people that I've done deals with. That I'm not gonna say that. That
You were
sounds
going
weird.
to pay minors? Is that what you're going to say?
I haven't
He's
said
talking
that.
about his mining operation, guys. He likes like gold and platinum. He wasn't talking about like
Oh yeah, but no, no. The thing is, I mean, I was 17 my first deal, right? So like whatever. The one thing I can tell everyone is creative, on market, off market, whatever it is, you can do it. One thing
learn
I
it.
will tell you is you're trying to learn creative finance. Richard will show you for what, 20 bucks a month on his Discord. That's the reason why I'm having a podcast with Richard. If Richard has a $15,000 join my call mentorship, 15 grand, I'm not going to do it, right? Like it's stupid. I think that this is why you're being attacked because you don't have a $15,000 creative finance, like hard money sales presentation, right? You have, it's 20 bucks a month, which I think is just, I don't think there's a cheaper creative finance mentorship than that. And like I look at that. This is why we're talking, right? Because we both have that same mindset, right? Yeah, maybe you got to pay it, but like it's not like you're dropping 15, someone's dropping 15 grand and like you're high pressure crazy like that, right? So I think just try out both. I don't really see a problem in it, but I think wholesaling, on market, off market, creative, non-creative, I think they're all going to make you money. So like it just choose how you want to get rich.
The reason we'll wrap up here soon, but the reason I don't offer something for like $15,000, the most expensive thing you can buy off of me is $19.99. The reason I don't is because I just want to tell you it's probably not going to work for you. This business probably won't work for you. And the reason I say that is because, like, let's take a universal desire. What does everybody want? Everybody wants to be in shape, right? Everybody wants to be fit. Everybody wants to be healthy. It's like a universal thing. You live longer. You get more
Yeah.
life out of being in shape. How many people know how to get in shape? Is it free to learn how to get in shape? Oh, yeah. Everybody knows how. Everybody knows how. Everybody has access to it. Everybody wants it. How many people are? What percent? Something like 40% of America is obese. So
Oh yeah.
everybody wants to, everybody knows how, but does it work for everybody? No. Does that mean that the information is wrong? No. Now let's apply that to mine. If I say everybody can wholesale real estate, pay me $15,000, I'll teach you how to wholesale houses. It's still only going to work for maybe 2, 3 out of 10 people. And it's not because the information doesn't work. It's because you don't work. It's because you're not willing to put in the work. It's because you get a contract, you have to cancel your contract, and you're like, this business doesn't work. No, no, you don't work. So if I sell you something for $15,000 and I sell that to 500 people, great, I made bank. That's only going to work for maybe a fifth of them, maybe less than a fifth of them. And then how many angry customers do I have who have money? Not just angry customers with money. You're cooked. You're cooked. You're done. You're going to get sued. People are going to be mad at you. People will sue you for sneezing in the United States as it is already. If you're selling a high ticket item, guys, knowing that wholesaling is a business based off of work ethic and most people don't have work ethic based on my fitness analogy, I mean, it's only a matter of time before you're in trouble. It's only a matter of time before the bad reviews start coming in. Richard charged me $15,000 and no, this information didn't work. No, 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 you don't work. So I offered it at a price where everybody can try it without breaking the bank because statistically, I know that you probably aren't willing to put in the work. Like, how many people do I have text me? Like, I have people in Hold My Hand Wholesale who say, why did I sign up for this? What is this? Like, they'll text the support phone number on their bank statement and they'll say, why are you charging my card? They literally sign up and forget about it. They don't even know that they're in there.
Well, they'll report you as a fraudulent, like, oh, he stole my credit card. I never put it in. He found my bank account number and put it in. That's why my course is free. Like, I don't want to deal with that stuff. With X Leads, I'm dealing with that always. But like for the free course, that's why when I started, I made it free. I'm like, I can't deal with this. It drives me crazy.
Yeah, guys, the high ticket thing, I feel that it's a landmine. I feel that each
Well,
one
you're
of you,
young, so you like that's how young people are. They're like, Yeah, I already got scammed by college, 20 grand for the year. I'm not going to spend another 15 grand. Like the old heads in real estate wholesaling, and Rick, I don't consider him because he gives it all for free too, but like no one's paying 8, 9, 10 grand to learn wholesaling anymore. I think it's ridiculous, man. I've been saying this forever, and that's why one thing I saw your stuff, I'm like, oh wow, he's not the average guru that's selling me a $10,000 program.
Dude, I wonder because the show that just called me out, Wholesale Hotline, also a show I've been on, also one of my favorite shows. Come on, I still listen to that thing just to like listen to it. I just like it. I think they have some great information. But
Congratulations.
that show is run by people who all have a $10,000 program, every single one of them. I mean, sub two right now, I believe is 12,000. You have TTP. I think that's like five to $10,000. TTP is Brent Daniels' program. You have Astro Flipping, also $5,000 to $10,000, maybe more. These are old numbers. I don't know what they are now. The prices go up over time. And then you have we already talked about the sub two community. I think it's 12,000, but it goes up because obviously sub two offers financing. Like, yes, you can do financing. So yeah, they have expensive courses, and here's the thing. I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it. You will learn something if you join, but at the same time, there's a 1% for a reason, guys. The reason there's 1% of people who are like immensely successful is because most of y'all just like, is the fitness analogy. I know you want to be fit, listener right now, whoever you're listening to, I know you want to be fit, but why don't you go to the gym? You have to be honest with yourself. You may be mad at me for saying this, but like, be honest with yourself. I know that you listener right now want to wholesale real estate. And I also know that you'd love to have a six pack. Why don't you? Ask yourself, is this the business for you? Have you been able to do things in your life historically that are challenging? Or are you the type of person who gets scared and you're like, oh, no, not for me? I also know that when I tell you this, it's technically pushing back and negotiation, and it'll make you want to do the business even more. But also just like look at your life and like look at whether or not you've been able to commit to difficult things, because wholesaling, it's simple, but it's not easy. You're going to take a beating on the phone. People are going to hang up at you. People are going to swear at you. You're going to cancel contracts. But if you push through all that, it's going to change your life.
Yeah. I mean, I've been on that show. I've done wholesale deals with Pace's team. So I don't think he's legit. I don't think
Oh,
I might have done.
you don't think he's legit?
He is legit. I've
Oh,
closed
okay,
six
okay.
figures of assignment deals with him,
Oh, okay, okay.
his
I thought you were
team.
saying you don't think he's legit. I
No,
was
no,
like,
he
well,
is legit. I know. I'm saying he's legit. Brent, I know for a fact legit. Jamil, I know
oh
for a
yeah.
fact legit. So I want everyone to know. I'm not saying anything bad about any of them. I think they've all been on my podcast, and I've been on their podcast. They are all legit people. I'm not a big fan of selling courses. Um, that's all I could say. So I want to say I'm not saying anything bad about any of them. They're all great people, and I know they all are legit wholesalers.
Oh yeah. They do a lot of deals. They do some of the most deals in the industry, guys. They've got crazy operations. Jerry
Oh,
Norton has too much money. Pace has too much money. Jamil has too much money. Brent has too much money. Like, guys, they're doing crazy numbers. They're doing crazy numbers. They do lots of deals. These are guys who are doing upwards of 100 deals per month, sometimes more than 100 deals per month. I know Jamil Danji does like 300 plus deals per month every single month. It's ridiculous. So, I mean, their stuff works. The question is, do you work? Maybe, maybe not. You've got to ask yourself. You just got to be honest with yourself.
no comment.
He's thinking, I do more. I do more
I'm
than
not
them.
saying.
I do.
But yeah,
He's
great
thinking,
people.
like I do more deals than these guys.
Great people.
Anyway, that's our is that our show?
Sure. I like it, man. I think anyone can get started in this business and make money. So I think you just get started. That's all I could say. So
So
make a plan and go do it. If you're
make
doing
an awesome plan. Just the first thing in your plan should be like look up, hold my hand wholesale. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, guys, it's such a great business. Anyways, happy Sunday. I don't know when they're listening to this. When are we dropping these? When do these get dropped?
whenever you want. I mean, I'm
I'm ready.
open to it.
First thing I'm doing after this is I'm texting my editor. I'm be like, we got the profile pic ready. This is a new podcast, guys. We're making the profile pic, but yeah, that's our damn an hour. We talked for an hour 20.
I
We
love
talked
real
for
estate. And I could talk about it all day. Trust me.
we talked for a while, man. I didn't even notice.
There we go. All right, guys, make sure you smash the like button, subscribe, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, guys.
Catch you later.